just some housekeeping, and welcome everybody that's visiting this evening. In the event of having to evacuate the council chamber, please leave by one of the 6 emergency exits around the sides of the chamber. Please assemble at the far side of the front car park, nearest to the park entrance. Officers will be on hand to assist anyone who needs any assistance. Please put your phone to silent during this meeting. We will be using the audio-visual system this evening, and the meeting will be streamed live on YouTube. Members speaking, please raise your hand if you wish to speak and speak directly into the microphone in front of you. Please remember to turn it off once you are finished. Members voting will be by raised hands. I'd like to introduce those present this evening. The members here this evening are to my right, our councillors Pip Allnutt, Ian Atherton, Siggy Atherton and Marilyn Gordon. And to my left, councillors Margaret Glancy, Pat Cumbers, Richard Sharp and Don Pritchett. We also have a team of officers present who are to my left, Assistant Director for Governance and Democracy, Clive Tobin. To my right, Planning Development Manager Louise Parker, Assistant Director for Planning Sarah Legg, and Planning Officer Amy Smith. We also have our Democratic Services team present, assisting with the technology and taking the minutes. That is Adam Green, Sarah Evans and Bev Graham. On the agenda, the apologies for this evening, we have apologies from councillors Brown, Higgins and Mason, and Councillor Sharp is substituting for Councillor Higgins, so thank you. And we'll move on to the minutes. We were going to look at 2 sets of minutes, but we're only now going to look at the minutes for the 29th of August 2024. Do we have a proposer? Councillor Allnutt would propose it. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Glancy. The 29th. Sorry, my mistake. The meeting, the minutes of the meeting I held on 26th of September. Yeah, my problem, my fault on that one. Are you still okay to propose?
Say 26th of September?
Yes.
I wasn't here, so I can't.
Okay. Councillor Glancy?
I wasn't there either, so I can't second.
Councillor Gordon, propose and second. Councillor Cumbers, thank you very much. Do anybody wish to make any comments about the minutes? No. Can we take a vote to accept those minutes? Those are in favour of the minutes that were here? It's 3. Were you not here, Don? Okay. And abstain? 1, 2, 3. And against? None against. Okay. That is resolved then. We'll accept the minutes. Declarations of interest. Members to declare any interest as appropriate in respect of items to be considered at this meeting. Councillor Allnutt.
As previously advertised, I'm recusing myself from the committee in order to speak as one of the ward members from down there, but only 3 minutes, I understand.
Yes, and we'll be timing it. Siggy?
I have to also stay out of it because I was involved at the beginning.
Thank you very much. So Councillor Allnutt and Councillor Siggy Atherton will move themselves to the public arena. Thank you. In that case, we'll move on with the agenda to application, the only application this evening, which is application 24/00134/FUL, the gardens to the rear of 249 and 251 Ashby Road. And I'll pass over to Amy to describe.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. So this application is returned to committee following its deferral from the August meeting. The development comprises one new dwelling in the main urban area of Melton Mowbray within the rear gardens of 249 and 251 Asfordby Road to be accessed from Chetwynd Drive. One letter of objection from the Ward Council has been received since the original presentation to committee. Next slide, please. Members reasoned that the application required more detail relating to the height of the development, the impact upon neighbouring amenity, clarification of off-street parking provision, and to determine if there was any impact upon wildlife. Next slide, please. The proposed development has not been amended since its original presentation to committee. However, the applicant has provided additional details, including site sections, a biodiversity survey, and car parking dimensions. The height of the dwelling is proposed to be 7.85 metres to the ridge and 5.08 metres to the eaves, which is typical of a two-storey dwelling. The rear garden of the development would have a depth of 10 metres. The council's design SPD does not set a minimum depth for gardens of new developments. The biodiversity survey identified the site as being unsuitable for habitats of protected species, although foraging within the site may occur. The report recommended biodiversity enhancements to include bird and bat boxes, which is supported by the county ecologist and is recommended to be secured by condition. Next slide, please. The car parking provision would comprise 3 spaces, 1 external space and 2 spaces within the double garage, and the dimensions of those spaces are highlighted on the screen. As per paragraph 1.8 of the report, the proposed dimensions exceed the requirements set by county highways. The principal elevation of the dwelling is also set back approximately 11.6 metres from the highway boundary, and the road width of Chetwynd Drive exceeds the standards set by county highways for a 2-way residential access road. Next slide, please. The applicant also provided a photo montage of the proposal prepared by a RIC surveyor using a 3D CAD image over relevant survey data for the site. It is an accurate representation of the development. The image demonstrates that the design of the dwelling is in keeping with proportions of existing dwellings on Chetwynd Drive. Next slide, please. Site sections have also been submitted by the applicant to demonstrate the proposed ground levels and finished floor level of the development. It should be noted that perspectives are difficult to show on a 2D drawing, and the site sections provide a view which is not possible to see on site, given existing planting and boundary treatments which would ordinarily screen other dwellings from view. The top site section shows a section through the site in a south to north direction, with 25 Chetwynd Drive shown on the left of the screen, the development in the centre, and 251 Asfordby Road to the right. The bottom site section shows a section through the site in an east to west direction, with 1 and 2 Riverside Road to the left, and 25 Chetwynd Drive on the very right. As sections show, the ground of the site would be cut to level the site where the proposed dwelling would be constructed. Ground levels would change by a maximum of 1 metre, as shown by the red sections within each site section itself. The blue dashed line depicts the ridge height of the proposed dwelling in comparison to the heights of neighbouring dwellings. Next slide, please. The council's design SPD sets the separation distances between dwellings. The distances shown on screen exceed the minimum distances required by the SPD, and as such, there are no concerns of the development resulting in impact to amenity of neighbours. Next slide, please. In summary, and in response to the 4 matters of the deferral, site sections have been submitted which demonstrate the height of the development is proportionate to neighbouring dwellings. The proposals are acceptable in regards to impact upon neighbouring amenity. Car parking spaces and the road width of Chetwynd Drive are in excess of the Highways Design Guide requirements, and there are no constraints of biodiversity on the site. As such, it is recommended that the application is approved subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Do any members have any questions for clarification from the presentation? No? In that case, then, we'll move directly on to the speakers this evening. And the first speaker is Mally Hurst, an objector and a local resident talking against. Welcome this evening. Thank you for coming along. You'll have 3 minutes from when you start speaking. If you press the little face in front of you, yeah, the red light's on, so you're okay. Oh, press it again. There we go. So Clive will give you a warning about 30 seconds from the end. If you could start closing at that point, that'd be wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I speak on behalf of the local community. All of our 70+ concerns have already been expressed in the many written objections you have received. But to summarise and reiterate, we feel that this house, if built, will be too large for the area it is planned for. Furthermore, it will be totally out of keeping with the style of the older, more established houses built in the 60s and 50s. Because of its size and position, we believe it will be overbearing to the surrounding properties, overshadowing neighbours' gardens. Privacy will certainly be an issue for the houses looking down at the new building from Asfordby Road. The image on the agenda is obviously a biased opinion of how it could look. It does not show how it will look from other angles, or the fact that it will be built at the bottom of 2 gardens. I hope the opinions of our ward councillor and his images have been duly noted. We are not complaining without good reason. We have genuine concerns. One such impact is the problem of water runoff. The houses on Riverside Road being badly affected. The same is true for some on Chetwynd Drive. We all know that property developers have to seek out new opportunities, but equally, surely, the concerns of local residents affected by any planned construction must be taken seriously. The impact on their lives measured against any possible benefit to the community that the new build might have. There would seem to be no benefit whatsoever to this community by one new house like this being built. So one has to ask the question, why is it important that it goes ahead? One house won't benefit Melton's building quota, but it will adversely affect neighbouring homes. The flooding on properties is currently dreadful, as is the traffic coming and going in the cul-de-sac on Chetwynd Drive. Even one more house will worsen these issues. We would urge the committee to consider the voices of so many residents. Some of these people have lived in their homes for over 40 years, and many are worried about how they will be affected. For the sake of one new house, is it worth causing so many people the upset and worry that this proposal is already causing, especially to the people who will be closest to the house, should it go ahead?
You have 30 seconds remaining.
The well-being of residents has got to be a significant factor in any decisions the council makes. So we hope that tonight this committee will consider very carefully if there is a compelling enough reason for this to go ahead. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to the committee members who have taken the time to visit the site.
Thank you very much. If you'd like to just remain there for a moment, just in case. Would any Councillor Gordon, would you like to ask a question? For clarification, remember, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, can you explain how the surface runoff affects you?
It affects us very badly. My husband and myself have to bucket water off from our patio when it rains badly. We're sort of ankle deep in water. We have to do something about that to stop it going in the house. So I think, yes, it is bad now, but those gardens are obviously a natural soak away with all the vegetation and trees. So I do feel that putting a block of concrete, and a big one at that, will obviously add to our problems. It's not just us, I believe. Well, I did send in some video actually before of a house on Chetwynd Drive that clearly showed the problems that they have with the raw water running into their garden. So it is a huge problem at the moment that will obviously get worse if it's built on.
Thank you. Any other members like to ask any further questions? No. Okay. Thank you very much for your
Thank
time,
you.
and thank you very much. I'd like to then call David Homewood, who's the applicant, talking for the application. Okay. Same instructions. You have 3 minutes. I will give you a 30-second warning if. Just try and. Oh, there we go.
Are we live?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So whenever you're ready, please start, and we'll give you 3 minutes from that point. Thank you
Yes.
very much.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Good to see the committee again and giving them the opportunity to present our proposal. So just as a reminder, this is a Three Brothers and Lewis North from 251 Asselby Road putting a joint proposal together. So we can go to the next slide, please. So Amy's addressed a number of these topics from the previous planning meeting. There was planning, heights of the building relative to the new neighbours, the ecology or the biodiversity, diversity, and the highways. So if you can go to the next slide, please. So as Amy's already highlighted, we've put there the drawing showing where we are relative to 25 Chetwynd Drive. So you can see there the property is actually 500 centimetres lower than the existing building. So we've designed it to be in keeping with the street scene. Again, the heights can be set as part of a planning condition anyway. So I don't really see that as a big issue on the planning heights, but we have considered it. If we go on to the next one, please. Also relative to the property on Riverside Road, you can see that's actually 500 centimetres higher than Riverside Road property. That's primarily due to the contours of the land as the land runs away as you go from basically west to east. And it's above the back-to-back planning distance, even though it's side to side of 21 metres. So that exceeds your own SPDs. And I've also done one relative on the next slide, please, to Rosina Cottage, where you can see that's proportionate to the bungalow on the Chetwynd Drive. If you jump to the next one, that's a composite image, as Amy highlighted. That's from a RIC survey. There was an image floating around I seen from on an email last night that wasn't from survey data. That's representative from survey data with GPS positioning on all the survey points. So that's done from a RIC surveyor and is available for the committee if you want it. Next slide, please. We also wanted to emphasise that we've designed it in keeping with the street scene. So I would challenge the residents and say I believe that is in keeping, in that we've got the same render, we've got the same look, we've got the garages in the same position. The new one's on the left, existing dwelling opposite on Chetwynd Drive is on the right-hand side.
30 seconds remaining.
Okay, so next one, please. Ecology has been addressed. Next one, please. Highways has been addressed already. And just coming to the final slide, we just really wanted to summarise that we want this to be judged on its planning merit. So we've listened to ecology, we've listened to highways, and we want it to be, reviewed on its planning merit. And we've tried to address every concern that's been raised by this committee. Thank you very much for your time. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Thank you. Any question? Councillor Pritchett.
Do you mean 500 centimetres or 500 millimetres? Because 500 centimetres is 5 metres.
Half a metre.
Half a metre. Sorry, it's me. I got it.
It's proportionate anyway, but yeah, thanks for the question.
Any other questions? No.
So I haven't addressed the one of drainage. I wasn't prepared.
Yeah,
for that.
sorry, I was going to. That was the one I was going to ask myself.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on the drainage issue?
So on the drainage, it seems like there's an existing issue with drainage, regardless of this application. So I would ask the question why that hasn't been addressed.
already. I would also say that if you do put a property in, there will be a slate roof on it that will actually capture the water, and then the water will be dispersed through the guttering system into the main drainage systems. I believe it will aid with the drainage, and it can be part of the planning condition that adequate drainage, which is planning conditions anyway, is part of the building conditions.
Thank you. Councillor Atherton.
So just for clarification, 500 centimetres as shown on the diagram is indeed 5 metres, and it should, I
Okay, so
suspect,
it should be
be
500
millimetres,
millimetres.
which personally I accept as a typo.
Yeah, type. So it should be 500 millimetres. Sorry.
Any other questions? No? Thank you very much for
No
your
problem.
time.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you. Therefore, I'd like to call Councillor Pip Allnutt towards the... I'm not going to give you instructions on how to use. However, the same constraints, 3 minutes, and 3 minutes, and Clive will give you a warning at 30 seconds, and every second after that, if you wish. But
I can start, can I?
yeah, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. I published my comments, and additionally, I've had a friendly and constructive conversation with the applicant and subsequently received copy of his initial response covering the opinions of his consultant. I wish to rebut the consultant's criticisms of my photographs. They were to underpin my opinion that the report, the original report, underplayed the fact that the slope of the land was in 2 directions, not 1 direction, thus affecting drainage, as we've just heard, as well as the general position of the proposed building and its effect on the amenity of 247 Ashby Road. I concede that my montage, which was mentioned a moment ago, viewed from Chetwynd Drive, is more artistic than draftsmanship, shall we say. However, as the great Picasso remarked, all art is a lie, but it helps to illuminate the truth. And the truth is quite clear. I stand by my comment about the consultant's montage. Representation of planting is completely fanciful, while the metrical presentation is a reasonable approximation through RICS of the perspective of the road. This perspective is in fact exaggerated, and this can be seen from my actual photograph, which I took last Saturday, and you've had that, members. Now, if the committee is minded to approve the application, my suggestions set out at my Appendix B for conditions are, I think, reasonable for both drainage and the operational aspects of the construction period. I am, in fact, deeply concerned that the applicant's consultant states that the conditions are not necessary, I repeat, not necessary, and not enforceable. Now, if that is correct, then that is another reason, in fact, to refuse the application. I was actually trying to be balanced and fair-minded towards the applicant by emphasising that if you were minded to approve the application, the drainage issues could be conditioned out. I have conceded that the distances between the build lines may be within tolerances, and we've seen that tonight, and I'm grateful for the amended section drawing, which truly highlights the relationship between the buildings, and not, as we were told last time, that the new build was below those of Chetwynd, and that was quite wrong. But my photograph looking east from the applicant site,
30 seconds remaining.
across down to the Riverside Road, you can see the 2 houses in Riverside Road clearly are 2-storey, and you're almost looking down on them. The crux of the issue is one of building footprint, its overall mass, its effect on the character of the area and the residential amenity of neighbours in accordance with policy D1. At the end of the day, this is always a matter of subjective opinion as well as objective measurements. The applicant is pursuing a legitimate ambition and the objectors are not NIMBYs. I know that my colleagues will weigh the pros and cons with diligence and fair-mindedness and reach a reasonable determination, I hope, to refuse. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Allnutt. Do any members have any questions for Councillor Allnutt? No? Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much. In that case, then I will open this for debate. We have the recommendation to accept. Would anybody like to make any comment in regard to that? Councillor Gordon.
Yes, because I'm really perturbed about the height of the building in comparison with the 1 and 2 Riverside, because it does go down. It's where it's going to be built. It does go down at a gradient, but when it gets to the boundary of 1 and 2 Riverside, it goes down even steeper. And I've stood in their gardens, and it's horrendous to think there's going to be that big building there. And also as well, they will lose a lot of sunlight because as the sun goes down there behind the big building, then they will lose a lot of sunlight during the day towards the evening.
And in a way, I have to slightly disagree because I think, as we've seen, the height of the house is the same as the one on Chetwynd Drive, and I've stood in the same garden, and I don't think it will block the sunlight any more than it is blocked by vegetation at the moment.
I think you've got to look at it from the point of view of how 1 and 2 Riverside are going to be looking across from their windows. They're just going to see that huge building there, and even though it's the same as the other buildings either side, possibly, that same height, I think we have to take into account about how it looks towards Riverside, and it's overbearing for them. It really is overbearing.
Thank you for your comment. Would anybody else like to make any comments? Councillor Sharp or Councillor Pritchett, would you wish to share your conversation, or no? Any other comment? Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, where the hammerhead, if this does go through, if it does, the hammerhead on at the bottom of Chetwynd, it needs to be it needs to be clearly marked where it adjoins to the driveway to the new house if it's built, because it's got to, either with a white line or anything, so that drivers can see they can still pull up there to turn and come out again if they wish to. I think we need to have that distinction, because otherwise they might go further into the driveway of the new building, and if there's new residents there, they wouldn't approve of that.
As I understand it, and I'd maybe looking to Amy, but I think there is a path that would pass across the front of the drive. Is that correct? Because there's a path leading up to it alongside the hammerhead, and I'm assuming that path may continue.
No, I don't think there would be a path which would cross the access, but there would be a clear delineation in terms of the hammerhead would still remain. So the width of the hammerhead would still remain, and the access would then protrude from that.
Because what I was thinking of, when there's residents that do move in and they see people backing into that, they might actually go onto their driveway, go further than they should do. And I thought if there's a clear boundary line there, it would help.
Unfortunately, I don't think we can actually dictate to the Highways Authority to put the lines. I think if this is agreed and it is built, the occupants will have to accept that risk. Okay. Would any Councillor Glancy?
Just got a quick question to officers. Will there be the normal wheel washing facilities, etc., for traffic that's coming off the site into Chetwynd Drive? Because we know with it being built over the winter, it's going to be an awful mess for residents to live in when you've already got established development around. Will there be sort of a management plan for that?
So we haven't included a recommendation for a condition to include wheel washing. However, if you consider that there is potential for mud on the highway, that would be a matter for Leicestershire County Council to deal with, because it's the county highway.
Councillor Sharp.
It's more with the trade vans. When you start building these properties and parking, which upsets the residents. We've seen in Waltham at the times when we've had big developments there, and you have probably 10 different vans that are parking. And I did read in it that there was, when they are doing the highways, they're parking elsewhere for doing the drainage and stuff like that. Will through that road, they won't be able to park on site. It's more the issue, like, I know what trade vans are like. They'll park wherever they can because their tools are very valuable in their vans. And it's just that it does upset residents to see vans parked on their own drive, on the things. And it's just one of those sort of conditions that really needs putting in. Can it be monitored that they do not park in other folks' driveways? That was main concern on me.
I think you also need to recognise it's one house. Yeah.
It's surprising how many trade vans are there on one day. You only need a builder or joiner, his mate, and you soon up to 5 or 6 vans on even on one site. It's just one of those concerns that it does happen.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp. So we can't control the parking of vehicles in the highway because that would be a police matter if they're parked in an unsafe manner. It is illegal to park across people's private driveways, so again, a police matter. And if a van parks on somebody's actual driveway, again, that's a private matter. So it's for the police as part of its civil law at that particular point. And so we are very limited in terms of what we can do in that respect because it falls outside of planning. I was just going to add as well, this is a single dwelling at the end of a residential street. So we would expect that the kind of traffic that would be associated with that would be no different to something like a 2-storey extension that somebody could build quite often without the benefit of planning permission.
Councillor Atherton.
So I'd just like to ask a question about the access during the construction phase. Obviously, there's going to be plant going up and down Chetwynd Drive, which is relatively narrow to start with. The report suggests that an access arrangements are shown on drawing 23/36/001 Rev C, but I can't locate that in the document set. Is it possible? One, does that drawing actually show access arrangements during construction? And 2, can we, if so, can we put it up on screen so we can have a look? I'm concerned that plant going up and down that road may cause damage to the road surface, but that's a highways issue. But perhaps more importantly, may cause damage to vehicles that are parked there because of the width of the road.
Yeah, I think it's see the previous answer almost, isn't it? Because it's a highways one. I mean, and just to put one point is that the road was measured and it was shown to be wider than if it was being built today. It wouldn't be that wide. The current regulations wouldn't need a road that wide, so it's wider than current regulations. The plan does exist. Apparently, it is on the portal. Any further questions? Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, sorry to bring this up again, but it is to do with the height, in consideration of 1 and 2 Riverside. On the photo that Pip somebody took of Pip, it shows, if all of you can remember when you've seen the photos, it shows where he's standing, and that is at the border in between where the new house is going to be and the 249, which is just the garden as it's going to stay. And you can see his head is up where the windows, the top windows are on the 2nd story. That's how low that those 2 houses are. And I think we ought to bring this up so that you can see. I can pass it over to you if you wish to have a look. Would you like to? Is it all right?
I've seen all the photographs that
you have.
Councillor Allnutt sent down. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so to me, it does seem very overbearing, and I don't think we can get away from it. We really can't.
Okay, thank you for the comment. Councillor Cumbers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I don't think it can be accurate to say that it's no different or very little different between a dwelling and an extension, a big extension, because a new dwelling must be bound, really more or less bound, to have more, to bring more traffic. An extension might or might not, so I don't think that should be used as a comparison.
And well, I don't disagree. If you're talking about a two-story extension, which is what the words that we used, that I think that is comparable.
I'm sorry. I mean, nearly every new dwelling will bring traffic, more traffic. Might only be one or two cars. It doesn't follow that an extension, even a big extension, will bring more traffic.
Sorry, we were talking about during the building phase, not during the. Sorry, yeah, it was only during the building phase. Yeah. Any other comments? Can I? Sorry, Councillor Glancy.
Another question for officers. Will there be a time restriction on when they can access to the site to build, basically? I know we normally put the condition in, but will that actually be included as a normal run-of-the-mill condition?
So we haven't included a condition. However, it may be reasonable if you did want to include that condition as part of your recommendation.
Can I just ask them, because the flooding has been mentioned a couple of times, and that's an existing flooding situation, which obviously isn't a requirement for us to actually fix as much as it does need fixing. But just wanted to understand what are the requirements on the new site to manage the current water flow, and would that make it worse, make it better, be the same?
So we don't know yet, because a recommendation has been made for a condition to be attached to the decision if it is approved. At 2.11 of this report, and we don't know the details of that drainage strategy yet, so I can't pass comment, unfortunately.
But it is the requirement that we would need to, that would need to be seen and to be authorised before the permission was fully. Sorry, Louise.
Yeah, just to add a layer on from what Amy's saying and is already explained quite clearly in her report. So the idea of a condition is that the full set of information comes forward. That information is assessed and then the condition is discharged. So for the purpose of meeting the needs of a condition, it needs to be reasonable, necessary and enforceable. And Amy's quite rightly taken the view here that the information is unknown, so the use of a condition would overcome concerns on this instance.
Councillor Atherton.
So just picking up on Councillor Clancy's point, can we add a condition about work times, please, in accordance with policy D1 subsection L? And I quote, development should be managed so as to control disruption caused by construction for reasons of safeguarding and improving health, well-being for all. If we could put a limit on start and finish times and indeed days of the week that construction can take place, I think that would go a long way to offset concerns in relation to that particular policy. Thank you.
Is that, yeah, while you're working on that one, is there any, Councillor Pritchett?
In relation to land drainage, and I got my legal degree from Google, is that if it's natural drainage, there's no liability. But once you alter the land, there is a liability. So as far as I can see, in this case, it would seem to me the back garden should come under the drainage conditions, because if you alter that in a, if you go, that shouldn't add to the drainage down the hill, whichever way it comes. So I think the garden should be it needs to be included in that condition.
Any other comments or entries for the debate? Councillor Gordon.
I think under the circumstances, and I know I brought this up last time, but I would like to refuse this. for the houses on 1 and 2 Riverside, because it's so important, because it will be overbearing for them and it's not fair. And it is a planning condition. And I truly believe that this is the way to go. I would like to refuse it.
So are you making a proposal to refuse the recommendation?
Yes.
Yeah, can we have clarification for the reason?
Yeah, it's mainly due for 1 and 2 Riverside, for the overbearing, because it is a lot lower. And you know, and it's one of these issues where you know, it's, if you stand in their garden, I mean, it's just looks huge. It will look huge, and it's there's no other word for it. It is overbearing.
Just quickly through yourself, Chair, can I ask for the policy with regards to that, please?
I'm not sure. Is it D1? I think it's D1. I can't be absolutely certain.
So we'll just continue while they're actually looking through that to look for any conditions. Any other comments? We'll wait to see if there's a seconder for the proposal once we have an idea of what the actual wording is. Councillor Cumbers?
Yeah, I will second. I think it's just too many bits here which just aren't 100%. That's what I think. You know, it's a bit of flooding. It doesn't help the community. It's I don't know, it's an impact on the neighbours. It's all sorts. It's just little bits, too many things together.
Unfortunately, as you know, Councillor Cumbers, with far more experience on this committee than I have, that we need to have the full plan. No, but we need to have. Can I finish? Can I finish, please? Can I finish? Can I finish?
Could be.
But we need to actually state those, and otherwise it will go to. Sorry. Otherwise, it will go to appeal, and we'll just lose the appeal. So we need to have the full conditions that we need to actually refuse it against. Yeah, this is what they're doing at the moment. Yeah. Although we haven't got the full proposal yet, so.
Thank you. Sorry, I couldn't see whether the microphone was on at that point. So it's a fairly simple reason for refusal here that I'm understanding from yourself, Councillor Gordon. So in the opinion of the local planning authority, the proposed development would be overbearing on the existing dwellings at 1 and 2 Riverside Close, contrary to policy D1 of the Melton Local Plan.
So I've just been given D1C and D1D. I've just been given that.
Thank you. So just to confirm then, in that case, that would be changed to, in the opinion of the local planning authority, the proposed development would be overbearing on the existing dwellings at 1 and 2 Riverside Close, contrary to policy D1 Part C and D1 Part D of the Melton Local Plan.
Yeah, I can do that for you. So policy D1 is raising the standard of design. All new developments should be of high quality design. All development proposals will be assessed against all the following criteria. C is buildings and development should be designed to reflect the wider context of the local area and respect the local vernacular without stifling innovative design. And D is the amenity of neighbours and neighbouring properties should not be compromised.
Thank you. So that forms your proposal, and you still second the proposal with those amendments. In that case, I'll take that proposal to refuse to the vote? All those in favour of the refusal, please raise your hands. Okay. Those against? Yeah, that proposal fails. Thank you. In that case, then I would like to see if any other comment or anybody would like to propose the recommendation to accept with the current recommendations and clauses. Councillor, yeah.
Subject to the addition of a condition around working days and hours, please.
Would you like those to be defined now, or?
It might help if we did define days and times before the condition was read. The actual wording of the condition, I'm not too worried about, but days and times, yeah, we should agree that now. And my instinct is kind of 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock in the evening, Monday to Fridays.
I think the comment that came across was bank holidays, weekends, no working. Yeah. Yeah, is that okay?
We have standard wording for such a condition, which I can read out. So it says, during the construction phase of the development hereby approved, no activities shall take place outside of the following hours: Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. There shall be no work at any time on Sundays and bank holidays.
So you'll make that proposal with that amendment, yeah? Would anybody like to second? In that case, then I will. Oh, sorry, Councillor guys. I'll second the proposal. So those in favour of accepting the proposal?
But
Sorry.
can we read out, because did Councillor Glancy mention wheel washing? Can we be clear about the additions to the additions and changes to conditions before we vote, please?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Councillor Glancy, did you want to answer?
I did mention about wheel washing, but apparently that's entirely up to highways, who haven't requested it, but they normally do with large developments to prevent all the mud that goes on the roads. So, but there's nothing for this one.
So not one of the conditions in this application. So you second the recommendation, the proposal? Oh, sorry, I was, yes, sorry. Yeah, so I'll press second. Those in favour of the proposal? Those against? 2. And I take that no abstentions. Thank you very much. Therefore, the application is passed.
Could I have my vote recorded, please?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you. In that case, I call the meeting is closed. Thank you for everybody for attending this evening. I'll remind members that we do have another session after this for a small bit of training. If you'd like to stay behind, we'll take a 5-minute break, a toilet break, or to refill cups. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending this evening.